First of all, I'd like to thank MMSteelClub for putting this excellent initiative and getting together this close-knit steel community. You know, small events like this, especially in tough times like the COVID-19 crisis of today, they bring hope and faith. They bring hope and faith to overcome the negativity around us, and they bring hope and faith to overcome the crisis around us. I hope we all give hope and strength to each of us, because this time it's not about the industry, it's not about the economy, it's about the human race and human mankind. Me coming from a medical background, I can totally understand the severity of the situation, and I have been talking very closely to friends from medical school, and the healthcare community at the moment is really doing an excellent job, and they're doing whatever they can to help us overcome this crisis.
How is the DRI situation down there? How has DRI been affected by the recent slowdown in North Africa? What is the short and long-term outlook you have on downstream DRI demand?
Yeah, thank you, Hadi, for the question. Egypt, we are having an oversupply, you know, and underutilization capacity issue in all fronts, on the DRI front and the upstream, on the crude steel production, and definitely on the finished steel production. Unfortunately, we end up even not utilizing 50% of the capacity there. DRI capacity here in Egypt is more than 9 million tons. In 2019, only you know 4.5 million tons produced. If we compare, as I illustrated in my presentation, January and February this year with January and February last year, more or less it is the same. And in Jan and Feb last year, Egypt did good with producing some good DRI, but then all of a sudden, due to the the DRI production is very sensitive to the spread between scrap and pellet and other finished products prices. When compared to the oxide billet for the DRI and those stuff. But this year, I guess, with this reduction in the price of the natural gas, true for other colleagues in the industry, unlike us, we are in Marakby Steel are scrap based. But let me say about them a little bit from an industry background. I guess this year it should be better for them a little bit, because the price of natural gas dropped from $7 for 1 million British thermal unit to 5.5 and finally to 4.5. Still, I know that the colleagues in other steel making plants and DRI production plants, they see it not enough, because if you look at the price of natural gas worldwide is only $1.7. So I know that all of them, they are looking for having less and less prices. But to be very honest also, if your cost for the natural gas was $7 and today it's 4.5, you do have an improvement. I can understand their position that they are still eager to have more improvements, because still with the $4.5, if you multiply it by 11 units for transforming the oxide billet into DRI, that will make it $50 only. I mean $50 and only for this natural gas to transform the oxide billet into DRI, which I believe is not still a small cost portion, but it's better than the one before, which was $77. Let me add also that the situation for the crude steel production is even more complicated than the DRI. Because if you look at the crude steel production, the government didn't drop the electricity prices with the same they did with the natural gas. Because if we calculated the percentage of drop for the natural gas, the country dropped it, by 35%. But if you look at the drop the government did for the electricity was only 6%. Egypt can produce crude steel close to 13 million tons. And again, Egypt is not making more than 7 million tons, So this is challenging. Apart from the COVID-19, this is, this is a real challenge for the Egyptian producers. There are some talks between the industry and the industry players and the government and all, but still this is something need to be sorted out, because in any case, sooner or later the safeguard duty on the billet is going down this year. The minimum was $74, it will be $60, and next year will be even lower. So if there will be no restructure for the energy costs in Egypt, particularly now, in my opinion, the electricity, then the steel producers will continue to suffer. Rather than that, it's okay. We are doing fine so far. Fortunately, there is no big disruption for the supply chain, either for the oxide billet supply or for the scrap supply. Mills, as I said in my presentation, are still working. Hopefully, we continue like that, so let's see.
Let's say for UAE, I just did a few months ago a kind of analysis which showed that, I take the example of long product. You have rebar capacities installed above 5 million tons, and your actual production at this point of time was 3.1 million tons in demand. So I believe that a lot of mills are fighting heavily for market share, and we also see that now a lot of mills have shut down. But even before, already some of the mills have been shut down. So I believe globally we have reached over the last year a utilization rate in the range of 78-79%, which was improving up from 73-75% in the past. In the Middle East, I believe we are below these utilization rates on a global scale. Not every mill has the same situation, but this is mainly depending on missing markets, but also on the supply chain, when you are depending on outside billets, when you are depending on a 3 months working capital cycle, which is always a kind of waiting for the new announced prices before you decide how much to sell and how much to buy the material you have to utilize. So I believe this crisis has a very negative, could kick out a few of the non-profitable mills from the market, but on the other hand gives the chance that eventually those mills who are set up well have higher utilization rates, because the market will still be in a certain way there after a few months, and in this way maybe have the chance to improve their profitability rates. So I believe at the actual situation it is in the range of 60% in average on the GCC market.
Well, the news in the region is not very optimistic at the moment. We've been having a very strict lockdown here. Dubai is now under 24 hours lockdown with very restricted movement. They just allow certain people to move around. And as I've heard about the long products, a lot of rebar mills have stopped production at the moment, and this is 100% confirmed. And when it comes to flat products, we are running at very reduced capacities. I would say it's around 50% or even less. So the situation is not very good at the moment, especially in Dubai. But we are optimistic, and hopefully they have announced that by 18th of April, once the lockdown opens, things should resume back to normal, because movements are very restricted indeed. And it felt really good to hear from Ramy and the optimism with how the Egyptian steel industry is functioning, and I hope that comes back to the UAE very soon.